just don't know the two people that we don't have videos for.
Yeah.
Okay. They have been in the program longer than you.
Okay.
Their dissertation in progress. Suzanne is dissertation in progress. Andrea is dissertation in progress, ready to defend. Soon. And then you and Alexandra are in the capstone. So y'all are finishing up.
We're doing comps.
You're doing comps.
Yes.
And Kimberly was there a year ago. Kimberly was in your shoes a year ago. So she can also share, she can also share experiences. So let me begin by sharing a PowerPoint. And you know what? Oh, let's go to the beginning. From the beginning. It's interesting. Well, y'all can tell, which is good. That's what you should do. You should practice. Okay, is there a way that I can, minimize the people over here, the view? I've got Alexandra on, who's good at. I guess not.
There should be a button that says layout, and you should be able to pick maybe a different layout for you to be able to view the screen and also the participants in the meeting as well.
Okay. Is it up? Okay. Is the layout up here on?
It's usually in the upper right-hand corner, it looks like.
Of where it says, there's like three boxes. Okay, let me see what this one does. Okay, good. I think I just, y'all are all disappeared. I'm on the right-hand corner. Okay, so, bottom corner. So I apologize if, like Sergio, I did this a couple of years ago, and Kimberly, you may have been here last year. So if some of this is similar, that's okay. You're gonna get to hear it again. But a lot of times, the second time you hear something, it's y'all are all in different places than you were maybe the last time you heard it. So hopefully you're going to get reminders or some new information. But the subtitle of this presentation is "You know more about your subject than anyone else in the room." And that's what this really should be called. I always tell people that when I see them waiting to go in, when we used to do it in person, and I think Andrea, I hope we do Andrea's in person. But when you're
doing it WebEx.
Oh, we have to do WebEx?
Yeah, that's what Dr. Valadez said. So
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I wish it was in person. And feel free to talk and interject. Anyway, I used to be near where you could see people waiting to go in. And by the time you defend, you really do know more about it than your committee, even your committee chair. And so you should feel very confident. This is your chance to really shine and tell us, everything that you did plus everything that you found out. So don't ever forget that you do know more about it than anybody else in the room. Oops, that's not what I wanted. So if I ever wrote a book about this, I would say that's okay. I'm trying to advance, and when I advance it, that's interesting. When I advance it, it just changes the what am I doing wrong? It's just changing oh, there we go. So the way I've broken this presentation up is into 3 parts. And So this is presuming, this is defending it, okay? I'm past you having done all the hard work of written it. So this is how you prepare to defend your dissertation, then what to expect when you actually go to the defense, and then there is very important follow-up procedures after you defend your dissertation. So once you defend it, once you defend it and you pass, it's not quite over. There's always more to do. And I found a lot of this information in a book called Destination Dissertation, A Traveler's Guide to a Done Dissertation. And it had, I thought, really good information. So, preparation. Attend the defenses of some of your doctoral cohorts in your department. It's probably good to go to CNI ones because I think the other ones are different than ours. And it's very important to adhere to the graduate school deadlines covering the scheduling of a defense. Andrea just did this. And you can see the deadlines by going to Graduate Studies. Graduate Studies has a great website with everything that you need on it. Okay, I'm sharing, I'm sharing, I don't know if y'all can see it. Can you see important doctoral dates? Or are you still seeing my PowerPoint?
It's just a PowerPoint.
Oh, just a PowerPoint, because I want you to see important doctoral dates. Okay, so I'm not sharing. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and see where this is. Oh, hi. We've got, okay, where's share. Okay, where are important doctoral dates? There. Can you see those now? Okay, good. Thank you, Sergio. Okay, good. Okay, so spring, we're past. Graduation in spring, we're already past. I don't have anybody graduating this spring, and that's not surprising. With COVID, has affected all of us, and so anybody that thought that they were going to maybe get it done in time for spring, I think it was unfortunate that they weren't, but what are not going to be able to. But what's important is that you think, oh gosh, graduation is May 15th. I've got till May 15th. You don't. You have to do lots of things that are actually 8 weeks prior to graduation. So for a May graduation, we're talking March 19th. For summer graduation is August the 7th. But we're talking at the last day to defend is June the 25th. So whenever you think about when you want to graduate, go back 8 weeks. So often it'll be, it's really sort of the mid semester is whenever you will be able to graduate. So if you want to graduate in the fall in December, it's usually the end of October that you have to have everything done. Okay, so that's something definitely to keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Is that the PowerPoint? Yeah. Okay, so the dates are important. Okay, I don't know why, if I'm in PowerPoint, why it's not letting me proceed. Oh, there. Okay, so knowing that, you should begin very early to schedule and coordinate the dates for your defense and the place for your defense. And you need to remember that everybody has to be there, including your graduate faculty representative. So I know that Andrea just did that. She just made sure that we were all, she's already got her date and time. And I guess place is not a problem right now because she'll be doing it with WebEx. As I said before, the last day to submit the agreement is 8 weeks prior to graduation. The last day to defend is 6 weeks prior to graduation. And then the last day to submit the final version of the dissertation, a survey called Survey of Earned Doctorates. And of course, there's a fee, is all 4 weeks prior to graduation. So I'll show you, you can pass the oral part, that's the day of the dissertation, but I've never heard of a situation where there's something that your dissertation committee wants you to to revise a little bit. And so you have 2 weeks. You have the last day to defend if you wait till the very end, and then 4 weeks prior to graduation. So you've got 2 weeks in there to make any changes that people want you to make. And so I'm glad Andrea's here because I wanted to make sure she knew about this form. So there's got to be a way to share easier than this. What am I doing wrong?
I think next time if you hit share all content, it should let you go back and forth.
Oh, great. Thank you. So say share all content.
Yes, ma'am.
Share content, share web browser, share my meeting window. So share content. I don't see that as an option. Share web browser, would that do it?
That would probably just show your Google Chrome. You'd have to, is there an option like at the top that says like share content, and then underneath that, does it say like share PowerPoint? Share.
There must be a share screen. Is there a share screen one?
That's a good one too, yeah.
Let me see.
Share content and then screen one when the tile's up.
Screen, okay. Screen one, so say screen one.
Yes, please. And
There
that
you
will
go.
allow you to toggle. Mhm.
Okay, and I can toggle back and forth without changing.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Share screen one, thank you. So this is the form that Alexandra needs to do now. Now she missed May graduation, but this is still a form that has to be done before she can defend. And all of us have to sign it. Everybody on the committee has to sign it. So you fill out the top part of the form and you send it to Graduate Studies, and they're in charge of sending it to each of us to sign electronically. And your chair signs here, and they're saying that they've read it. They've read it a lot of times. And here's the title: and concur by my signature that the dissertation has been electronically checked for plagiarism and that it is ready to be defended. So we do run it through Turnitin without the references, because if with Turnitin, if you do references, it's going to pick up everything on your references. And also, it's impossible, it's not plagiarism when there'll be phrases that'll show up. We're talking about like paragraphs or whatever. So, but the chair does have to attest to that it has been checked electronically. So always keep that in mind. And then you will fill in this part, the date, the time, and then location. I guess you'll just put WebEx and fill in your chair if you happen to have a co-chair. So just fill in their names over here, members, and then your graduate faculty representatives also has to sign it. So this is really good. This makes it formal that everybody is on the same page. Everybody will be there. I heard some story about that somebody was defending down in counseling last week and their GFR didn't come, didn't show up. And so they grabbed Dr. Lynch Davis into be a participant. So anyway, Andrea's got a really good graduate faculty representative. He was one of the first ones that responded to your doodle poll, so you're not going to have a problem with that. Okay, so now I want to toggle back to my PowerPoint. So where is it? How do you toggle? Without saying stop sharing. The screen one's the other. Okay, so there's that form. Everybody has signed it. You are ready to present. Can you all see my PowerPoint? Am I on PowerPoint? Yes, thank you, Alexandra. So I don't know why it doesn't want to let me proceed. And what I just realized too is this is being recorded, so that's not very good.
I can always go back and edit like I did last time.
Okay, good. Good, thank you. Okay, I don't know why I'm not able to, because I'm on PowerPoint. Isn't that wonderful about, okay, stop sharing. Let me see, here is Microsoft PowerPoint. Here we go. So be sure that you have your manuscript reviewed before the defense. Make sure it's consistent with the formatting requirements of the university to present a polished document for the faculty in preparation for the defense. And they have to have it 2 weeks before the defense. So there are dissertation, thesis formatting page. All of this is on, all of this is on the graduate studies. They've really done a good job of putting it all together. They have the general formatting, the templates, and the very last thing that you will do is your table of contents, list of figures, and list of tables. So there are formatting workshops. I know there's one on Wednesday. So it's it just will, the more that you already know about the formatting, as you're working on it, you can make sure that it's correct so that you don't have to just keep changing things back and forth. Okay, so I want to move on. You're sharing the map. Okay, I'm sharing the PowerPoint. People are reviewing the PowerPoint. Okay, how do I? There it is. Now, this is a good one. Ask your chairs what questions and issues might you be asked during the defense and prepare to address them. There are always going to be limitations to your research. And so it's always better to address them from not from the beginning, but it's always better. You're going to spend at least like 40 minutes. We'll look at the timeline. You're going to be just, explaining your whole dissertation to the committee. The committee has read it, but your chair and you are going to know that there may be some issues. I don't want to say issues, but some limitations to what happened whenever, because research is always messy. It never is just perfect. So be ready to address anything and have it in your presentation. Organize your material for presentation. Create the presentation of material that you'll be covering on the defense. And then this is the main thing is practice presenting the material and practice answering questions. You will present, nobody will ask you questions until after you finish presenting. Usually the defense meeting begins with a few brief comments by your chair, and then followed usually you are handed over the ball. And it usually is good that you thank the committee members for their time and effort. Start off that way. Like write it, you'll be nervous, so write it in big letters on your card. Thank you. But before you begin, that's always a nice way to begin. Usually as chair, you might have some people in the audience who are not committee members, and that's allowed. They're allowed to come hear the first part of your defense. They will be asked to leave, though, when the committee starts asking you questions. So just remember that part of it. And your presentation material should briefly cover the research question, the literature review as it relates to your theory, your methods, analysis, and the major findings and recommendations for future research. And people always talk about, well, how long should I talk? This is from G. Yeah. So there's a form that the graduate faculty representative is going to fill out. And so I think this form sort of gives you a timeline of what is expected of you. They have to mark that it took you either 30 minutes or less, 30 minutes to an hour, or over an hour to present your dissertation. You do not want your graduate faculty representative to check 0 to 30 minutes. Nobody can, y'all, I think all of you here have presented at conferences and whatever, and you know that it's never a 30-minute presentation. I generally tell people to try for 40 minutes, okay? If you say 30 minutes, a lot of times you get a little fast and you'll talk a little bit faster. And so if you're shooting for 40 minutes, a lot of times it might be like 35. And you really don't want to go over an hour. It should not take you that long to explain it, especially since you know that your committee has already read it. And so I always say around 40 minutes. After 40 minutes, if there's people in the audience that want to ask a question or whatever, They may. That's really very rare. Sometimes, like if another one of your doc students comes, uh, friends come, they might ask a question, and that's really good. Unfortunately, a lot of our defenses are during the day, and so y'all are not able to go hear somebody else's. If you can go hear somebody else's, that's great. The funniest thing that happened one time was I had a doc student and her husband, of all people, asked a question at the end, and not at the end, but like at the end of her oral presentation. And I have to say it was a good question, but I would have killed my husband if I thought that he was going to ask me a question before the before the committee started asking questions. So but anyway, you're prepared. Like I say, you know more about it than anybody in the room, and so there's not anybody that's going to ask you something that you don't know. He just sort of had an opinion question and waited until her defense to ask it, which I thought was real interesting. They're still married, so everything's all right. So then the audience is asked to leave, and the only people that are left are your dissertation committee. And once again, the GFR is going to be watching the time. Your chair is going to watch the time too, but it's usually more than 30 minutes that they ask questions. And it's sort of like your proposal where they take turns asking questions. They'll have notes on your dissertation. I would also ask them, when you send it to them 2 weeks before, ask them, do you want it electronically? Do you want a hard copy? Do you want both? A lot of times people actually, they want both. And so give them, whatever it is, whatever format that they want. I sort of like both because I like to write the comments on the electronic one, but I like to read the hard copy. So it's just polite to find out what they want. So they will have questions, even though they've read it. Just be ready for questions. There will not. Oh, Andrea has a question. Good.
Yeah, I just had a question. I just want to make sure I understood that last statement.
Okay.
So basically, I don't know, because I guess I kind of zoned out for a minute. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
So when the 2 weeks, so when I'm going to give my committee members the 2 weeks, I should ask them, would they prefer electronic or paper or both, correct?
Right. When you send
Okay.
it to me, yes, good. Thank you, Andrea. Probably they're going to say electronic,
Okay.
but might be somebody that wants, somebody that wants paper. So it used to be we gave everybody paper, but then we realized that was a lot of paper and a lot of people didn't really want it that way. And it should include, at that point, it's really important that your table of contents is correct and formatted so that when they're reading along, they can refer back to the table of contents or to the table of figures or whatever. So I know a lot of times, like that's the very last thing that you put. The very last thing is your table of contents because you just don't, you don't know what it's going to look like. But yes, I would ask, like, I don't know your GFR is very nice, but I don't know him, Andrea. I don't know whether he would like both or not. So as a courtesy, it would be nice to ask what he would and to get it to him. And so I've never, unless there's a problem, it's not usually an hour afterwards. Like if you have somebody that was in the audience and they went out to wait for you, they're probably, tell them not to be nervous. Tell them you're not going to be out there and you're not going to be out of the room in 30 minutes, but you're also not going to be in there in an hour. So people will take turns asking you questions. What generally happens is they'll start asking you questions, and I don't know if it's a professor thing or what, but then it's sort of like then the professors start talking amongst themselves, and you're sitting there. Also, you don't have to keep standing. You can sit down at that point, and you're sitting there waiting for them to, whatever it is that they're not arguing about, but whatever it is that they're talking about, it's like it'll be almost like they've forgotten that you're sitting there. And as chair too, I would always take notes. You can take notes of questions that they're asking you, but a lot of times you're trying to answer the questions. And so it's good for the chair to also be taking note. If somebody says, I really think you should adjust this, I really think you should change this part. Because as I said before, even though you pass the oral part, there's going to be 2 weeks that you probably are going to need to be changing something. I've just never seen one that's perfect before. They also, the GFR, their job is really to make sure that the product is acceptable or outstanding. Okay, they are there really for you, but they're also there for the university, and they're there also to make sure that your committee is not being mean to you and demanding a whole lot more than you can possibly do. So I never get to see this, but I presume that all of my students get outstanding, and they're also supposed to say the extent of rigor. And so we want our dissertations rigorous. We want our dissertations outstanding. You're going to be publishing from it. We want you are representing us. So they have a place where they can comment. They sign this and they send this to the graduate office. So I don't get to see these after the graduate faculty representative turns it in. The question that they do ask them too is total time invested from proposal defense to dissertation project defense. A lot of them just sort of they skim it and they go to the proposal and they skim it and they come to the defense, and that's fine. That they may be 1 to 3 hours or 4 to 6 hours. There's some that, depending upon what their interest is and their time is, they may actually spend a lot of time. So the graduate office wants to know how much time that they have spent approximately, and they also are asking, this is the 2-week thing, they're also wanting to make sure that your graduate faculty representative got it 2 weeks before you defended. Okay, I haven't figured out the toggle, y'all, so we're going to go back and forth. Okay, so that's a good form to know about. Sharing the PowerPoint, I sure am. I'm trying to advance it. Okay. After your presentation, the committee may take some time asking you questions and discussing amongst themselves points of interest or disagreement. So that's sort of the disagreement part, is where I'm saying that sometimes, they're not going to disagree and ditch the dissertation, but sometimes your committee members are not going to agree on something that you've done. And that's really when your chair will step in, unless it's something that the chair even thinks that maybe, gee, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe you do need to change this part. For sure, these 2 questions will be asked. They will always ask you to indicate where there might be some weaknesses of your study, because there always will be. As I said before, there's no perfect research. And also post-dissertation research plans. Not so much what sort of job you're going to be trying for, but where do you plan to go from here? Because you've done all of this work on your dissertation, and you should be thinking about, I would like to publish, this part of my dissertation, or now this makes me want to research further on something else. So those are two questions for sure that you know that you're going to be asked. If there are any weaknesses, and what your research plans are for afterwards. Because I would hate to think that you went through all of this and then you just let your dissertation, doesn't go any further. When all the questions have been asked and answered, you'll be asked to leave the room while the committee deliberates. At this time, the faculty will be deciding by vote whether to pass you on your defense in dissertation. So we used to ask people to leave the room. Now, with WebEx, we'll ask you to go to the waiting room, I guess, is the next place that you go. And so, word to the wise, they're gonna sometimes they are just sitting in there talking, just talking amongst themselves. So not to be mean, but they won't ask you to come back in immediately. Usually there is some sort of conversation because, like I was telling you before, there's always something that, unfortunately, there's always something that they want you to change, which at that point you're like, I'll change anything that you want me to. But the desired outcome is that when you're asked back in, your chair gets to say to you, congratulations, Dr. So-and-so, Elizondo. And you know then that it was successful and that you have passed. Now, the reason why I say defense and written report is there is this form that it used to be, and it was so nice. I liked the way that it used to be where we all signed a page, and that's what went in your dissertation. And now that everything's electronic, we don't sign anymore. We sign this form. So I like the old way, but that's too bad we don't do that anymore. But you'll notice that there's two columns here. One is oral defense, and everybody has to sign this, and written document, and everybody has to sign it. So a lot of usually what happens is, of course, you're gonna, you should pass your oral part unless there's some big problem. The graduate faculty representative signs it. But if there's something that the committee wants you to change, and like I say, you have 2 weeks to change it, your chair's going to hold this document for 2 weeks, and they will then write pass for the written part. Okay, so you pass the oral that day, and then you pass the written when everything has been changed, whatever changes have been made, and then it goes back to graduate studies. Okay. And like I say, all these forms are on Graduate Studies website. So, not that day. That day you should go out and have a party afterwards. But the next day, you should start attending to the revisions of the committee and start making the changes that they've asked. You'll be required to provide bound copies to your department and to the library. And so be sure that you create a budget, start looking at how much it's going to cost. Of course, you're going to want a bound copy. So, right there, at least, you're going to need 3 of them. So create a budget for that, for the costs relating to the publishing, and any additional copies of your manuscript. And then you order or rent your regalia for hooding and graduation. I heard that I have not heard specifics about our May graduation. We're going to have a graduation, but I've heard that there's no hooding ceremony. And so I am hoping that by August there will be a hooding ceremony, because that's probably one of my favorite things that we get to do. You don't have to buy your regalia, you can rent it. So, and I think a lot of times people go out and, because it's, they're excited, they go out and buy it, but the regalia is very expensive. Unless you know that you have a job at a university where you're going to need it. Oops, is that the end of my PowerPoint? Certainly not.
Dr. Brune, do you think that that a student should buy bound copies for their committee?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
That used to be that sort of used to be the rule of thumb, but no, I wouldn't do that. But like I say, I feel so sorry there was someone in educational leadership who spent a lot of money on the regalia, and then they found out there's going to be a graduation, but there's not going to be a hooding. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means they're going to just walk across the stage.
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's, in August. So they were asking me how many students I had graduating, and I said I don't have anybody in May. But no, I mean, Andrea, you might want to buy one for your chair, but I certainly would not buy one for everybody on the committee. I'm on your committee. No, you do not have to buy me. I'll have your electronic one. It'll go to ProQuest. When I want to refer to someone, about your dissertation, I will do it that way. I'll say go to ProQuest and I'll refer. But that's sort of just like we don't get to sign it anymore. Like I love to sign it in the signature page, just like we don't get to do that anymore. I don't think you have to buy everybody one, but they're expensive. And I don't know, Andrea, how long is yours?
Almost 180.
Yeah. So see, that's gonna cost. That's gonna cost. So that's gonna cost you some. Michelle, I'm glad you're here. I didn't see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So, questions other than how to go back and forth from those forms. That the graduate studies, they have done such a good job of doing all those forms, and your chair will make sure that you get, we're not going to mess up on that part. Alexandra, did you have a question? No.
I do.
Yeah, I had a question. Yes, sir.
During the defense, when you're defending, is that process, I don't know if it's online, when you do it online, or in the one in person, is either or being recorded? Do you all record those? The defense?
No, I don't think I've never even, I'm trying to think. I don't think we do.
Okay.
I don't think we record them. Like this is being recorded today.
Right.
So that if somebody couldn't come, the graduate studies can send it to you. But like the reason why I said I don't think it's recorded was because I asked about recording something once, and I know what it was. It was our interview. It was Sergio. It was our interviews. We've just been doing the search for
Right.
Dr. May's job, and I said I couldn't. I was teaching a class, and so I couldn't go on Tuesday night because I was teaching
Right.
a class when you went,
Right.
and they said no because you have to have permission. Okay, this may be a human resources thing, but you have to have permission from everybody who's on it to record it.
Oh, okay.
So I think that the defense, I mean, you're already going to sort of be nervous enough. I'm not sure I would want to be recorded.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that because some people are doing theirs online, and I just want to make sure if that's being recorded or not, so they know that. Yeah.
I guess, Andrea, maybe ask. Like I know that Sophia's going to take this and is going to clean it up for. So I'm not so concerned about being recorded right now. But anyway, but that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. Sophia, do you know, are they recording defenses?
I haven't heard anything, but I do know, yeah, you have to have permission from everyone, either in the physical room or the WebEx room or Zoom meeting. I'm not sure if the student is the one that sets up the physical link for the WebEx meeting. And if you did and you got permission, it might be easier to record because it's your room and you can start that recording. But I haven't heard of anyone recording their defense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For sure, you would not record the private, like, you know, I'd be recording the defense part of it. But
Right.
then when it became a private between you and your committee, you know, for sure you're not gonna, nobody's gonna, you know, they're not gonna want that recorded.
Yeah, just putting it out there, you know, just in case.
No, that's good question. And so, Sergio and Alexandra, y'all are taking your comps right now.
Yes, ma'am.
You will, you don't pick this always comes up at like, you don't pick your chair, you don't ask your chair, you don't really pick your committee until after you have finished your comps. You probably right now know somebody. I mean, you probably in your mind know who you want to ask, but also your chair will want to have some say into who else is on the committee. And of course, a lot of that has to do with your methodology, who your methodologist is going to be, or sometimes your chair can serve as the methodologist. And so you don't have to have a separate person. Ideally, you get your committee that summer and you propose either in the fall. You can't propose and defend in the same semester. So, but we asked for people to try to do it within a year. This year some people we've delayed it a little bit. Poor Michelle, because of COVID, had to change her entire, she proposed and then she had to propose again. She had to change her entire dissertation. Not so much your topic, but your methods of what she was going to do. So she and Kimberly are doing a content analysis. Is that what it's called? So anyway, so questions, concerns.
That was good. Thank you.
Yeah, Andrea, yeah, we can tell you this like a year or two earlier, but then it's like, I think Sergio came a couple of years ago, but that was like a couple of years ago. So this is much more pertinent to Sergio now, I think, than it was, I was happy you came a couple of years ago, but this is much more pertinent now. And it's a lot of information. It's really a lot of information to
Yes.
take in. So
A quick question on the publishing part of the manuscript. Do you have an idea what the cost is? Just a ballpark figure, what it's been in the past
I think it's
for a copy?
the bound copy.
Yes. And who do we do those through?
Through the library. Sophia, maybe
I'm
can help me
pulling it
with
up.
this question.
I have the cost right now. If you give me just 1 second, I have a PowerPoint. And if you're interested, like she mentioned, we have a formatting workshop on Wednesday where we not only go over the templates in detail.
Good.
Andrea, I think you were there the last time we did it, if I'm not. Yes.
Yeah.
And so we go over the templates in detail, and we also talk about publishing and copyright and all that fun stuff as well. So let me pull up the cost here, though.
Well, if it's on Wednesday, I'm going to be there on Wednesday, so.
Okay, yeah, and we'll also have somebody from the library that knows in detail kind of about copyright and the benefits of that as well.
Okay.
Right. Those are very important questions that like I say, Sophia's office and the library takes care of that.
Okay.
But there are, as there is with everything, there's always costs associated with, you think you're done, finish writing it, and there's, but it's your it's your baby.
Yes.
I've had children, and the closest thing to having a child was finishing my dissertation. It's that meaningful to you that you've accomplished something. Yes, you've had a committee, but it's you. But it's not like it's you. You really put together something. You produce something, and so to me, I don't think there's any better. Except for having the birth of my children, finishing my dissertation was completing it was really something for me. So it will be for all of you. It will be. I know it will be.
Will be for me too.
So any other questions? When you start this journey, I don't think you can't, all you have, at first you are so intent on your classes and making sure that you make it through all of that, and so you sort of are thinking, there's a dissertation out there, but you're getting through all that. But then when you get to the dissertation part, you're really by yourself. You have a committee. Yes, you have a committee, but it's different than when you're taking classes. But anyway, I can't tell you how proud I am of the people that I've chaired, people whose committees that I've served on, because I don't think anybody except maybe your family knows how hard it is. My husband will tell you how hard it was. He saw how hard I worked on it. So your family members have to be very supportive of the process. So I'm looking for Andrea here to be first, and Massey's moving along. She's like she's doing 4, almost 5. Suzanne, I'm sorry, I don't really know at what point you are, but so I have people here sort of on all different points, and then Kimberly and Michelle are sort of probably about the same point, and then we've got Alexandra and Sergio. So it's just a process. It's not a race. It's you just have to get done. A done dissertation.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Any questions for me? Okay. Sophia, thank